In an effort to figure out how to avoid the most common issue with every single vehicle, that issue being rust, I'm taking the opportunity on my old truck to test a few different products here and see which ones I like, which ones I don't, which ones work and which ones don't, if any of them work. I kind of have my doubts, but we will see. So first off, this stuff here, this stuff I know for sure you can buy by the gallon, which is nice. I don't think I'd want to do my entire truck with spray bombs. It gets kind of expensive. So that's one benefit of this. I have to look into it a little more, but this does say for electrical contacts. So it should be okay if you do get it on any of that kind of thing. This stuff, as you can see, the spray pattern is not nearly as nice for getting into small areas, or you have to be really close to the material that you're trying to coat to get it to apply. It doesn't really smell too bad. It smells kind of like WD-40. It smells pretty close to WD-40. It's advertised as a penetrant and an anti-corrosive formula. So, designed for the aerospace industry. So, motors, PC boards, that kind of thing. So it should be happy on electronics, which is a nice feature. This stuff here, this is, if you ever have any kind of power sports equipment, if you know what chain wax smells like, that's basically what this stuff is. Now, I'm hoping that it will actually kill rust and corrosion, because the plan is that I'm hoping that this stuff can be sprayed over existing rusty material and stop it. This is supposed to dry to a waxy finish. I mean, obviously all this stuff is, well, no drip, blah, 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 which is bogus, because it all drips, because you're not painting a perfectly flat surface. You're not coating a perfectly flat surface. But this stuff doesn't smell too bad either. It smells like chain wax. And it kind of looks a little bit like chain wax when you put it on. This stuff is, well, it's hard to say. You get a lot of overspray and stuff falling back in your face with all of these. But this stuff is probably the easiest to spray and get in and on where you want it to be. Now this stuff here, this stuff smells awful. This is, I think, originally designed as a penetrating oil. It's lanolin, is what it is. Lanolin based, they call it. They also say it's a wool wax base. This stuff smells terrible. And the drawback with this stuff is that it eats rubber. It is designed as a penetrating oil, so it does just that. It'll eat into non-oil safe things. So that means I'm worried about wiring, worried about fuel lines, worried about suspension bushings, that kind of thing. This is the messiest to apply. When you spray it, there's a lot of overspray, not just bouncing back, but just it sprays around in the air. The can is completely covered, and not because I was spraying underneath, just because the pattern coming out is so poor. You can see it's all over the can, as opposed to that's relatively clean. That one there, you can see it's got some drips and stuff going on. This stuff is much kind of a lighter, if you didn't know any better, you would call it WD-40. So far the fluid film is my least favorite. we'll see how it holds up. But at this point, I'm kind of leaning towards, depending on how it performs, this or this. So yeah. All right, just for comparison's sake, we're gonna do a little demo and we'll see what this looks like, see if we can pick anything up. So here's WD-40. This stuff is the most like WD-40 out of the bunch. It smells a little different than WD-40, but it's not too far off. It's definitely thicker than WD-40. Now there's a couple different wax things I have here. This is chain wax I was talking about. And that's designed for a chain, so it's got foaming agent in it, blah blah blah. It's designed to penetrate into a chain. This stuff here is designed to kind of do what the Corrosion X is designed to do, which is basically protect metal. That's how they sell it. So you can see you get a waxy film application. It's a lot thinner than the chain wax. Alright, so here's Corrosion X. See how this goes down. All kinds of stuff coming out of that can. And that's thicker than even the metal protectant by far. I do like this metal protectant, by the way, for doing battery terminals and that kind of stuff. It works better than most battery terminal protection spray that I've used. I do like it. It's not extremely cheap, but there's a lot in the can. As with all AMSOIL stuff, not extremely cheap. So last up, we have this stuff. I don't really have much to compare this to, so we'll just put it down here. Pretty slick. And yeah, it stinks. Not even a good stink. It just stinks. WD-40 is basically just WD-40. Pretty much same consistency on that ACF 50. The chain wax, this chain wax will actually harden up, get waxy, and the metal protector does the same thing. And I'm assuming the Corrosion X is, well, it's supposed to do the same thing, leave a waxy coating, blah blah blah. And this stuff, fluid film, shouldn't really dry much at all, from what I understand. So there she is. We'll see what happens. Well, it's the next day. It's been about 12 hours since this stuff has been sitting, and at this point WD-40 is basically gone. The AC50 still very wet. Chain guard. Relatively tacky, pretty slick. The metal protectant is almost completely dried. Waxy film. The Corrosion X is supposed to be a waxy film, self-healing, and it is. It's not drying really at all. Then you have the fluid film, which is also not drying, which that's not supposed to dry either, really. There's the AC50 again, hanging out, and you can see the WD-40's gone, basically. So the whole point of this test is I want something that you can put on rusty metal and have it stop the rust. Just about anything will prevent rust. That's easy. I want something that you can spray on an old rusty truck and it'll actually stop the rust. So we'll see how it goes.